So the season has obviously not started out great for my New York Giants. 0-3, and then finally got their first win against the Saints at the Superdome. But I figured the Giants could use a little bit of help. Some reinforcements. So what I did is I gave them arguably the best defensive player in NFL history in Lawrence Taylor. But I thought, all right, that's a little bit unfair to give the Giants, that type of a player and not do anything to the rest of the teams. So I gave one legend to every other team in the league. And let's go ahead and show you guys who I chose. So yes, 99 Lawrence Taylor, I think is a pretty welcome addition to the Giants. And I even worked and got some of the colleges right on these players. It doesn't really do anything, but it, I think, adds to the immersion. So here's Lawrence Taylor. Obviously not face scanned or anything, but it's close enough to what Lawrence Taylor looked like at the time. He had a few different looks, and this one, actually, you can tell from his dilated pupils, he was on cocaine at the time. But that was just kind of his thing. That's one of the quirks that makes him a great. And some of these teams, it was pretty tough to choose which legend to add, because I'm trying to improve the team the most with the legend that I give them. And the Jaguars have a pretty good running back in James Robinson. He's awesome. And of course, they drafted Travis Etienne really high. But I wasn't going to give him Tony Baselli. He's their best player all time, probably, at left tackle. I just don't think in simulation he's going to factor in all that much. So I gave them Fred Taylor. He went to Florida, so already the college is being correct comes to an end. Height and weight's correct. I gave him pretty great attributes. I tried to juice all these guys so they would play the biggest impact. I'm going to give him like superstar X factor as well. But Fred Taylor for the Jaguars. Thought the Jets could use a lot of help on defense, and this certainly will help out a lot. DARRELLE REVIS is the newest member of the 2021 Jets, but he's in his prime. Prime DARRELLE REVIS. Thought that was a really fun addition. We did see him recently in my 2010 to 2021 resim. He was awesome in that. But this is bringing him back, which is a little bit different from that video. If you haven't seen that, that's on the channel. Check it out. Didn't upload it too long ago, so it's in the Madden franchise playlist as well. Check it out. It was between Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson for the Lions. And like Barry would have made a lot of sense. Don't get me wrong. Barry would have made a ton of sense. 100%. He'll be in a future video for sure. But with DeAndre Swift here, he's good. I decided to give them Calvin. I thought receiver was a little bit more of a need for them with Tyrell Williams and then Quintez Cephas. Of course, we're familiar with his Lions team if you watch the Lions franchise series on my channel. But I just decided to give him Calvin. It was a toss-up. I don't think you could go wrong with either, but Calvin was my choice. Maybe more of an Eagles legend, but they already have a pretty good defensive line. But I gave the Packers Reggie White. They don't need Brett Favre. They have Aaron Rodgers, and Reggie White is one of the best defensive players of all time. Right up there in that conversation with Lawrence Taylor. Different type of a player, but Reggie White was absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable player. And I think a welcome addition to this Packers team, which probably will be competing for a Super Bowl in this franchise simulation. Reggie White, I think, can help that quite a bit. Doesn't seem too long ago that Luke Kuechly was on this team. I thought about Julius Peppers. He was awesome, but you know what? They've got pretty good pass rush already in Brian Burns and in Morgan Fox. But Luke Kuechly is a huge upgrade to this linebacker group. I mean, Hassan Reddick's a pass rusher as well. Morgan Fox is more, I think he plays 4-eye on this team, but Hassan Reddick is that edge guy along with Brian Burns. However, they don't really have great off-ball linebackers. Shaq Thompson is awesome, by the way, should be way higher than 82. He's playing really, really well this year. But Luke Kuechly, I think, is a game changer at Mike linebacker for this team. So Luke Kuechly wasn't in the league all that long ago, but he's already coming back. It's not like the Panthers are a super old organization anyway. I want to say their first season was 1995, maybe a little bit before, but around then. It's not like they've been around for super, super long in the grand scheme of things. But Luke Kuechly is on the Panthers. I really thought about giving the Patriots Tom Brady, but he's still in the league. It didn't feel right. I decided to give them Andre Tippett, outside linebacker, pass rusher for them. One of the greatest Patriots to ever play on the team. Could have been Willie McGinnis too. Similar type of a player. It's just if you look at the numbers and all that, Andre Tippett was super underrated. Played on an era of Patriots that, they're not exactly known for. obviously more known for the 2000s and 2010s. But Andre Tippett was a really, really good player for the Patriots. I didn't watch him play. I didn't watch a lot of football in the 80s. I don't even know if anyone could imagine why. But Andre Tippett, by all numbers, accolades, and accounts, was a great player. Let me give you a season from his career here. Hall of Famer, by the way. And in back-to-back years, 1984 and 1985, put up 18 and a half sacks, and then followed that back up with 16 and a half sacks. Pretty unbelievable years, and had a 4-year stretch from 1984 to 1987, where he was a 2-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, and had 57 sacks and 2 touchdowns, as well as 8 fumble recoveries in 56 games. Probably had some forced fumbles as well. It's charting 0 or showing 0 on Pro Football Reference. I'm just not sure if it was tracked back then, because even like tackles weren't at that time. But yeah, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. Hall of Famer, and a lot of people don't know him, but you know, great player. And his awareness was pretty low, so I just boosted that up, and now he's a 97 overall with Superstar X Factor. Yeah, I mean, 91 was probably a little bit too low. I think the Raiders' best options that I could have given them were cornerbacks. Like, you could have gone with Lester Hayes, or Mike Haynes, or Willie Brown, or, I mean, even Jack Tatum in the secondary. But based on how young Trayvon Merrick and Jonathan Abram are, and their corners really aren't too bad in game, and their offensive line has just been terrible, I did give the Raiders Jim Otto. Could have gone with Gene Upshaw as well at left guard, but I thought just shoring up the offensive line with a Hall of Fame center, arguably the best center of all time, when Richie Incognito's already on the team. I thought this was the proper move for the Raiders. I know it's not exciting, probably a little bit of a letdown, but he might make it a lot easier for Josh Jacobs to go off. So I think in this case, offensive line for the Raiders was the best choice. I made this defensive line even better. Already have Aaron Donald. I gave them Deacon Jones. More of an edge guy than an interior pass rusher, but he's not an outside linebacker. So I've left him at defensive end. Deacon Jones, you know, one of the best players in NFL history, really. His overall could be higher because of awareness and play rec, and I don't even know what would make his overall higher. I mean, he's got crazy maxed out power moves, finesse moves are great, block shed's amazing, strength is amazing, pursuit's amazing, tackling is amazing. I don't know why his overall is not a 99, but I thought those were definitely fair ratings. And now on a defensive line that already causes defenses huge problems with Aaron Donald, Deacon Jones is going to bring a whole lot more. Gave the Ravens Ray Lewis. I think you could have gone Ed Reed as well. Another organization that's not super old. I think you also could have considered Terrell Suggs, considering their edge rush talent. It isn't great. Odafe Oweh is, a young emerging player. Justin Houston is probably not even quite as good, even though his overall is higher at this point. I thought Ray Lewis would just play the biggest impact at inside linebacker here. One of the best to ever do it. He definitely didn't murder people, right? But definitely didn't. And I know what you're saying. Why would you even say it? It's just reaffirming what everyone already knows, is he definitely didn't murder anybody. Just like OJ, Ray Lewis is innocent. Wasn't on the team too long ago, but this is a much better version than the Drew Brees we've most recently seen that just was basically forced into retirement because he just didn't have it anymore. This Drew Brees is one of the best quarterbacks of all time, which he is. Of course, had the record for most passing yards ever until Tom Brady most recently broke that. But Drew Brees is the best Saint of all time. It's not even particularly close. He's one of the best players that the NFL's ever had. Drew Brees was the easy choice for the Saints. And of course, I'm giving these guys Superstar X Factor after I show you them. Could have gone with a number of different options for the Seahawks. Could have tried to reassemble the Legion of Boom if you want to bring back a guy like Cam Chancellor, who's out of the league. Earl Thomas, I think we can say, is out of the league. They just felt kind of too fresh. I mean, you could have even gone Kenny Easley if you wanted somebody in the secondary too. But Cortez Kennedy, RIP, Hall of Famer, fantastic interior defensive lineman, and I thought would be a huge addition to the Seattle team that really could use some pressure up front. Their D-line is pretty poor. Cortez Kennedy will hopefully change that in a big way for Seattle. This is kind of mean for the Steelers. It really is. But I'm not going to replace Big Ben with Prime Big Ben because that's not adding a legend. They already have him. And I'm not going to bring in Terry Bradshaw. I'm just not going to do that. It's like, well, why not? Terry Bradshaw, kind of overrated. I'm just going to say it. He's a nice guy. He rambles and stumbles over his words every single weekend. That's always fun to watch. Terry getting sloshed on national television. But I didn't feel like adding Terry Bradshaw to this team. So I did decide to add one of the best defensive players ever. And they could use some help at corner. And why not add one of the best corners of all time in Rod Woodson? Of course, would end up playing a safety later on for the Raiders, Ravens. But Rod Woodson was, again, one of the best defensive players ever. I think won Defensive Player of the Year with the Steelers as well at one point. So, yeah, just a great addition to the team. No way around that. Also, I think it's criminal that Anthony McFarland wears number 26 and Le'Veon Bell wore 26 when it probably should have been retired. Maybe there's a reason it's not retired. I don't know what it would be, but I mean, you can let me know. Also, I love how much this face I picked looks like Rod Woodson. Thought that was awesome, but yeah, he's unbelievable in the game. And block shedding even should be a lot higher. Let me turn that up. Wasn't hard for the Texans. Another player that we just saw pretty recently in the 2010 to 2021 or 2010s decade recent, we'll call it. But Andre Johnson is the best player that the Texans have ever had. I don't think it's particularly close. I mean, maybe you could make an argument. You really couldn't. I'm not even going to say anything. Like, this isn't the Oilers, even though it's a Houston team. That's the Titans. So any Titans legend will be, or any Oiler could be eligible to be for the Titans, but not for the Texans. Arian Foster maybe comes to mind, but no. Andre Johnson is the guy. The best Texan ever. I don't think you can disagree with that. Okay, you know, JJ Watt is in the conversation. Don't get me wrong. 100%. Was JJ Watt a better overall player in the league than Andre Johnson at his peak? Probably true. JJ Watt, you could make an argument as the best player in the league, or at least top 2 or 3. And Andre Johnson was never really in there. Wide receiver, it's pretty tough to be. But I don't know. I guess it's not fresh enough out of my memory. And he didn't play for as long as Andre Johnson did. It's not like Andre Johnson even retired a Texan either. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Because actually, the more I think about it, JJ Watt's definitely in the conversation. Gave the Titans the freak. Javon Curse. Could have gone Earl Campbell. Could have gone Warren Moon. They have Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Now, obviously, like, Warren Moon is a little bit of an upgrade over Ryan Tannehill, but Tannehill's good. I thought we could go in a different direction. So getting a freak pass rushing monster in Javon Curse, I thought was a very, very good addition to this Titans team that needs help on defense. Gave the Vikings Randy Moss, another one where you could have given them a number of different players. Adrian Peterson, but they have Dalvin Cook, Fran Tarkenton, or, I mean, Warren Moon was on the Vikings for a second too, but wouldn't have done him, or Randall Cunningham. They have Kirk Cousins. He's just a little bit too good, in my opinion. So I just gave him another weapon. Randy Moss. Yeah, it's probably better to go with a QB, but I'm bringing back Randy Moss. He's more fun to me. Like, look at these attributes. Yeah, the route running's not amazing right now, but freak athlete, amazing catching. That is Randy Moss in a nutshell. And this is only 22-year-old Randy Moss. So some room to develop for sure. Gave the Bears sweetness, Walter Payton. They have Justin Fields. I wasn't going to give him a quarterback. It's not like they have many great ones to choose from. Like, was I going to give him Sid Luckman or Jim McMahon or Jim Harbaugh? No. I don't know. Justin Fields feels like a good option there. I gave him Walter Payton. I mean, he's the best Bear ever. Yeah, there's probably a conversation with Dick Butkus or Mike Singletary, maybe. Dan Hampton was great. Richard Dent was great. Some other probably, right? But Walter Payton is just the best Bear ever. And he is very, very, very good in game. Another one where I don't really want to add an offensive lineman, but Anthony Munoz is just the best Bengal ever. One of the best left tackles ever. It just felt like kind of a no-brainer for a team that does need offensive line help. So Anthony Munoz, I know it's not incredibly exciting, but he was the pretty clear choice for me to add to Cincinnati. Speaking of killers, I mean, killer running backs like Walter Payton, not quite the same way, but OJ Simpson, Orenthal James Simpson. Man, that hair is fighting gravity. I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, I guess similarly to the glove, right? That hair don't quite fit. But OJ Simpson, you know, known more for his elusiveness off the field. 1994 Ford Bronco. OJ killed his wife and a waiter. That's going to be, you know, up for debate. But you know what? He was cleared and, you know, was proven apparently to be not guilty by a jury full of idiots. No, but in all seriousness, he has got to be probably the most elusive player in NFL history, really. I mean, I don't know how you don't get locked up. But I digress. We'll move on here. No way or no reason to beat a dead horse or a dead wife and a waiter. John Elway was the player I chose for the Denver Broncos. Pretty obvious they need a quarterback. And I mean, Teddy Bridgewater's played fairly well, right? He's no John Elway, though. That's pretty much all I need to say there. Like, I wanted to give the Browns Jim Brown so badly, but they have Nick Chubb. They have Kareem Hunt. It didn't feel right. I gave them Clay Matthews Jr., one of the best Browns ever. He's, you know, not one of the greatest players ever. He's maybe going to end up in the Hall of Fame. Maybe. Probably not if I had to bet on it. But was a really good player for the Browns and, you know, is a worthwhile addition to their team, I would say. I thought about Paul Warfield as well at receiver, but he was probably better on the Dolphins than the Browns. I thought about Ozzie Newsome at tight end, but Austin Hooper's pretty good. So I just went with Clay Matthews Jr. It just felt like the biggest area of need for this Browns team. So it was the call. It's not the sexiest pick in the world, but it is it's decent. Also, yeah, I don't know for what reason, but when you go from draft picks to practice squad, Anthony Munoz flashes on the screen very, very quickly. I don't know why that is, but it does it for every single team. For the Bucks, I gave them Warren Sapp. He's at left end here just because the Bucks defense has changed since he played there. He was a D tackle. He would not be a D tackle with Vita Vea on the team. He would play defensive end. I gave him crazy block shed tackling, power moves, strength, everything. He's amazing. His overall is just a bit lower because he doesn't have the athleticism of a typical defensive end, but he is still very, very good. And he likes a lot of things. You can use Google for that. And if you're wondering why am I making so much of everyone's legal problems and not just focusing on the football, on the 2010s decade resim video, somebody complained, so I figured I would double down. Big time. Hope you're watching. Hope you're watching out there. Larry Wilson is who I decided on for the Cardinals. Yeah, Larry Fitz is awesome. They have Nuke. They have Christian Kirk, AJ Green, Rondell Moore. I didn't feel like giving the Cardinals Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, I thought about, and I really thought about Adrian Wilson, because even if Budda Baker's a strong safety, I could have given them Adrian Wilson at free safety, who is very different from Larry Wilson. That's interesting. I never thought about that. The two best safeties ever on the Cardinals are both named Wilson. They aren't related. Believe me. You can Google Adrian Wilson and you will see unlikely that they're related. I won't say impossible, but I don't think so. But Larry Wilson is maybe the best Cardinals player of all time. Played in a different era. You know, I still made him very, very good. But you think that guy like Larry Wilson, guy named Larry, and whoa, I just thought of that. They're two best, Adrian Wilson and Larry Wilson, and then Larry Wilson and Larry Fitzgerald. Can't be a coincidence. Anyway, I've tried to say this just stupid joke like 3 times now, and I keep laughing as I say it. So we're just going to ruin the delivery at this point. And I'll just say that probably the only way a guy like Larry Wilson here could become a multiple-time All-Pro and Hall of Famer is because he played before the color barrier was broken. It wasn't even a joke worth making. But I made it, and I delivered it about as poorly as you could ever hope for. Junior Seau for the Chargers, swiftly moving on. Maybe the best Charger ever. I think that's pretty self-explanatory there. Like, yeah, Phillip Rivers, whatever. They don't need a quarterback. Junior Seau, RIP again. Just great player. You might remember him with the Patriots too. And, ooh, he played for somebody else. Maybe Miami? Oh, yep, he did play. It was Miami. 3 seasons before going to the Patriots in 2006, and he retired in 2009. But I don't know why I remember him with the Patriots a little bit. Probably just because that was a pretty memorable time for football for me. But yeah, Junior Seau, obviously known as a Charger, dominated the 90s and early 2000s. Awesome player, and was the pretty clear choice here for the now Los Angeles Chargers. Chiefs are a pretty great team already, but I gave them another RIP, unfortunately, in Derek Thomas. Hall of Famer, well-deserved. Unfortunately, his career and life was cut short. I want to say in maybe the year 2000. February of 2000. Very, very sad, but still one of the greatest players in Chiefs history, very easily. Talk about Len Dawson as well at quarterback. Didn't really feel like giving the Chiefs a quarterback. Thought it was a little bit lower on their needs list. Gave the Colts Peyton Manning. They need a quarterback. I think the Sheriff goes without saying as the clear and obvious choice for the Colts. Maybe would have been fun to bring back Andrew Luck, but I mean, who's the best Colts player of all time? Probably Peyton Manning, because he's one of the best players ever. Won multiple MVPs. I think maybe the most MVPs of any player ever. So I wasn't ever going to bring back Johnny Unitas. It was just always going to be Peyton Manning. Gave the Cowboys Bob Lilly, one of the better defensive tackles ever, Hall of Famer, and just a really, really good option. Cowboys need some help on defense. You could have gone with a lot of different guys. DeMarcus Ware, I thought about, everyone that you could have thought about. Emmitt Smith, they have Zeke. Troy Aikman, they have Dak. Michael Irvin, they have CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. It was kind of tough for the Cowboys, but Bob Lilly felt like the choice to me. Gave the Dolphins Dan Marino. Don't really have a huge explanation other than this is the best Dolphins player ever. Again, one of the best players ever, ahead of his time. Put up crazy passing numbers before the league was really doing that. Unfortunately for him and the Dolphins, never won a Super Bowl. Probably on a very, very short list of the best players to never win a Super Bowl, at least quarterbacks wise. And, certainly the guy you want to bring back if you're Miami. Their defense hasn't been great this year, but I think Dan Marino is a little bit of an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett and Tua Tagovailoa. Gave the Eagles Randall Cunningham. It was pretty much a toss-up between him and Donovan McNabb. I think Donovan McNabb is probably a little bit more synonymous with the Eagles, but Randall Cunningham's just more fun. Like, yeah, he was probably at his best in Minnesota, but again, just more fun to me. Falcons have Matt Ryan, so I wasn't going to bring back Michael Vick. Who I did decide to bring back was someone that can help out their secondary and their defense in general a lot. Not Boise State. Florida State obviously just didn't change it. But I gave them Neon, Deion, prime time, Deion Sanders. Amazing, amazing, amazing athlete. Amazing coverage. Not the best tackler, but Deion was just unreal. It was tough to include him in this because he was great for Falcons, Cowboys, Niners. Played for the Ravens, Washington as well. Played for anybody else? I know Ravens and Washington, he was not good with them because he was just so old. Maybe he was okay. But I think Cowboys, Niners, Falcons pretty much is where he's known for. If you want to talk baseball, Braves, Yankees. Don't know who else. No, I didn't miss a team. So Ravens and Washington, yeah. All right. Only had 1 year with the Niners. Wasn't all pro, though. I would have thought that he was there for longer. Had 3 touchdowns that year as a defender. Insane. Deion Sanders, led the league in punt return touchdowns 3 times, albeit 2 of those years he only had 1. Has 6 punt return touchdowns ever. Kick return touchdowns, led the league in twice with 2 and then 1 year. Has 3 all time. And defensively, he has 9 touchdowns all time. So you have a guy here with, what is it? 18 career touchdowns, and he was a cornerback and a returner. And you know what? That's not even all, because he had 3 receiving touchdowns over his career as well. So, ridiculous. I think if I were the coach, and maybe a good thing that I'm not, right? I think if I were the coach, I would add DEION on some design passes. Had a crazy good arm, professional baseball outfielder. So, I mean, maybe not crazy good arm, but a pretty decent arm. Also, it's wild that he retired after the 2000 season at age 33. Didn't play for 3 seasons, and then still came back in 2004 and 2005 for the Ravens and played 2 seasons and did have 5 interceptions combined in those 2 seasons. I know I just gushed over Deion Sanders for a while, but worthy of it. One of the best players of all time. Yay, football team slinging Sammy BAUGH. Needed a quarterback. Best quarterback ever for them. I think it was probably the move. And Slinging Sammy, I'm sure, had no problem saying their previous name. I guess I don't really either, but they're Washington football team now. And you know what? I try to be as respectful as possible to everybody. Unless you're a murderer or you have had a bunch of legal issues. Like we talked about Warren Sapp. Anyway, we'll continue on. Gave the Niners Steve Young. Could have been Joe Montana. Could have been Jerry Rice. But I decided to give him Steve Young. I thought a quarterback was the biggest need for them as a team. Like, yeah, for the same reason I gave the Bears sweetness instead of a quarterback. But the upgrade from Trey Lance or Jimmy G to Steve Young or Joe Montana was so much more than it was from Justin Fields to Jim McMahon or Sid Luckman for the Bears. I thought QB was the way to go, and I thought Steve Young was the way to go too. Probably going to be some guys that wanted this to be Joe Montana. Steve Young's just a little bit more fun, isn't he? Because he could run. So I think that is everybody. So let's just see what happens. I know it's kind of a long-winded thing, but I like to go over the players that I added. You know, it's a lot of fun to do these. So I know some of you guys probably skipped to this moment where we simulate, but I wanted to give every player their due diligence and also make my terrible jokes. Tough year for the Giants, 4-13. Turns out Lawrence Taylor didn't actually help them out that much. Devastating. The Chiefs still finished with the best record, but some of the teams that got bigger boosts that you usually don't see in here. The Saints were pretty good, but the Bills were really good. The Bears, though, 11-6. Steelers made the playoffs. Bucks, Cardinals, Raiders, Jags, Falcons, Rams. The Packers did not. I thought they'd be competing for a Super Bowl. No. Ravens and Patriots snuck in. A lot of teams with 9 wins. Oh my goodness. A lot of teams with 9 wins. Let's go ahead and check out the stats. Derek Thomas put up 39 sacks. That's quite a year. I was hoping to see more legends in here. There's Rod Woodson had 7 picks. But like tackle leaders, all current players. Let's count here. Rod Woodson, Derek Thomas, and that's it. 2 players in the top 3 statistically is pretty disappointing. RG3 put up crazy numbers with the Steelers. How did he even find himself starting? There's Sammy BAUGH, Randall Cunningham. I was expecting to see some Dan Marino here somewhere. Not finding it. Not finding any of these like, Hall of Fame QBs. There's John Elway. Put up, you know, pretty John Elway-like numbers if you go back and look at his career, but not particularly impressive in the game here in 2021. There's Steve Young, not particularly impressive. I don't even know if I made him a lefty in this, just because you can't do that outside of franchise, so probably didn't. There's Kaepernick, okay. I didn't bring him back. There's Dan Marino, pretty awful numbers. This just goes to show you how strong playbooks are, because you have one of the best quarterbacks ever with attributes that match that, and his numbers, because he was in Miami playbook, were terrible. Really, really, really bad. Like Peyton Manning, are you kidding me? In terms of passing yards, he was the worst quarterback in the league. Just ridiculously stupid. There's OJ. OJ killed it. Great year. Was the #1 of any running back that we brought back. There's Walter Payton. Fred Taylor had a great year. We can see also that was a good time for somebody else to pop up. I'm not seeing anybody else. Did I only bring back them? I mean, there's Randall Cunningham. What about touchdowns? 19 for OJ. 19 for Fred Taylor. We saw that, and Walter Payton had 15. Still a pretty good year. Still a good year. Receiving, Michael Thomas led the league in both catches and yards. However, not touchdowns. Looked like Juju had 13. How many receivers did I bring back? Randy Moss I brought back for sure, obviously. But did I bring back any other receivers? Calvin. Calvin really didn't find the end zone too often. Was still quite good. And maybe I didn't bring back any other receivers. Oh, I brought back Andre Johnson. Damn. He plays on a bad Texans team and in a terrible playbook, and they just didn't get him the ball. Devastating numbers for Andre Johnson, who in real life put up insane numbers with awful quarterbacks. So, shout out Andre Johnson. Blocking, would love to see 0 sacks for Anthony Munoz, but he let up 10. He let up 10. The attributes don't matter. Do we all know that now? Attributes barely matter. For tackles, where's Luke Kuechly? Junior Seau's in there. Had a pretty good year. Shaq Thompson led the Panthers in tackles. Where is Luke Kuechly? There he is. I mean, great year for him, but the tackle numbers aren't crazy. There's Ray Lewis, too, by the way. Good year for him. Tackles for loss. Andre Tippett's in there. Grady Jarrett had 18 sacks. Holy. Danico Autry had 18 tackles for loss. There's Derek Thomas, who had just the craziest year ever. 39 sacks. Lawrence Taylor had 17 tackles for loss and 15.5 sacks. Pretty crazy. Javon Curse was awesome. He put up a really, really good sack total one year. In like one of his first couple years. First year at 14.5 sacks. So in an extra game, I guess it would make sense that he has 15.5. Lawrence Taylor, 15.5. Great to see from him. We saw Andre Tippett, 12.5. And I don't know if we had any other pass rushers besides Reggie White, who I'm not seeing in here. I mean, there's Clay Matthews. Yeah, he didn't really have a ton of tackles at all. Junior Seau had more sacks. Where's Reggie White? I saw Devin White. Where is Reggie White, please? He had 10.5. I just missed it somehow? I didn't see him. I guess I must have passed him, right? I must have. No, he's just not in there. Okay, cool. All right. Interception 7 from Rod Woodson. Who else? Darrelle Revis had 5. I guess we're not going to see... There's Ray Lewis with 4. I guess we're not going to see Deion Sanders in here. There's Deion Jones with the Falcons. Not the right Deion. Maybe he had a bunch and he's just not showing up for some reason because the game's terrible. Is that the case? Nope. Deion had 2 interceptions. Noted not ball hawk, Deion Sanders. All right. Playoff bracket has the Bills and the Patriots. Steelers, Ravens, Jags, Raiders squaring off. You get some AFC East, AFC North, and then noted bad teams of the past 2 decades matching up. And then in the NFC, NFC West and Cardinals, Rams, Falcons, Bears, and Cowboys, Bucks. Saints had the first or 1 seed and Chiefs do as well. Let's go ahead and see how these playoffs shape up and shake out. And I'll see you there. Shocking. The Chiefs make the Super Bowl, but they're playing the Saints. Let me go ahead and change teams and see if we can watch some of that one. So if not for Nickel Roby-Coleman, terrible penalty that was not end up called, we maybe would have seen a Chiefs-Saints Super Bowl. but we finally get it. Drew Brees versus Patrick Mahomes. Drew Brees versus Derek Thomas. Trying to sack Drew Brees for the purposes of this video. Super Bowl LVI. Let's see who comes out on top. Saints take an early 3-0 lead, and the normally high-powered Kansas City Chiefs barely end up scoring points here in the first half. Come away with only 3. They are down by a huge total, 17-3. But they are fighting back 17-10, and it's 17-17 now with just 4 minutes left to play. Let's go ahead and look at the New Orleans offense, as Drew Brees still doesn't have a lot of help. It's Michael Thomas, Traquan Smith. I mean, the same receivers we're used to seeing him work with. This is the Saints team that we saw literally last year, so it's not too different. But Brees going to fire complete to his favorite target, as long as it's not more than 10 yards down the field, as that's Michael Thomas for the first down. From the 23, Brees drops back, throws short, his favorite thing to do. Come on, Drew. This is your 29-year-old self, not 39. Stretch the field a little bit. I don't even know if they're going to call a play here, as that will take us to the 2-minute warning. I think the Chiefs might be scoring a little bit too quickly here. Traquan Smith has 10 receptions in this game. I form, handoff to Kamara, space up the middle, and the tackle is made by Derek Thomas. But the first down is achieved by New Orleans. 1:40 now to play. Brees from under center. Here's the motion and another handoff to Kamara, who's stiff-arming, fighting to the end zone, and is just short. I'm sure the Chiefs would have been okay to allow him to score. This is now 2nd and goal from the 1. The Saints are knocking on the door. Big jumbo package, handoff, Kamara, diving touchdown. And the Saints have gone up by 1 score late in the game. Should end up being 24-17 Saints. And with just over a minute to play, 3 timeouts, we'll see if the Chiefs can mount the comeback and tie up this game. Mahomes with a pretty pedestrian stat line so far, only 169 yards passing. Nice. And we'll see if he can go down the field. 82 yards in just over 1:10 to give his team a chance. Throwing over the middle and complete. It's a nice little chunk, but now under a minute to play. 2nd and 2 now from Mahomes out of shotgun. Facing a 4-man rush. Had a little bit of pressure, but he'll just dump down a Tyreek Hill. Easy first down. But they got to pick up the pace or use a timeout or something. 35 seconds to play. Mahomes throws downfield and complete. Huge play. Timeout, Kansas City finally. I know I'm the Chiefs, but I'm not controlling when they use timeouts. Big throw to the running back. Mahomes now has all day and is intercepted. Shades of Tracy Porter in the Super Bowl. If he had a bigger return, but no. Just tackled instantly. Bradley Roby has won a Super Bowl for New Orleans. And the Saints are walking away with another Super Bowl. The 2nd for Drew Brees. This one coming over a decade later from his first one. The Saints have won the Super Bowl, and I think that's pretty much going to do it for this video. Believe it or not, adding Drew Brees back to the Saints in his prime makes them Super Bowl champions. The secret's out. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
I hit it at the park, bend bones. See me high step to the end zone. My life like a game, Nintendo. Playing with the best, let them know. Get off the track, the train's coming through. Yeah, promise you get in my way, then you best believe I'ma just run over you. Yeah, yeah. Papa turn taking it back to the house. Defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud. Speed burst good.